Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be looking at some examples dealing with factoring trinomials when a, so what's attached to your x squared, is greater than 1. Sometimes you'll come across them where you can't just divide by GCF and then get x squared to just be x squared. Like in this case, there's no number we can divide 2, 15, and 18 by. There's not a number that exists that we can divide, them all by. So what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply 2 times 18. Then we're going to rewrite it as x squared, so I'm just getting rid of this 2, minus 15x plus, and then now what's going to go here is what 2 times 18 is, which is 36. Okay, so now that it looks like this, we can factor it. So we look at 36, we come over here, we write the factors of 36. We have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. So when you get into, doesn't matter what class you're taking, but when you get into factoring, it's going to be really, really important that you know your basic math facts, okay? So this one, same thing, we're looking at which, any of these two numbers can give us 15, 3 and 12. So we're going to break it into 2 sets of parentheses, x and x. Okay, since it's a negative 15 up here, I'm going to have to make both of these negative, because if we just did 3 plus 12, that would give us a positive 15, but we're looking for a negative. So we're going to make it a negative 3 and a negative 12. When we break it into a parenthesis, it's now going to be x minus 3 and then x minus 12. So here's where we're going to bring this 2 back in, because we can't just, unfortunately, we can't just multiply it in and call it a day. We have to bring it back at some point. So once it's factored, now we're going to come through and we're going to divide whatever that constant is right there by the 2 that we multiplied in. Okay. Well, this one, it can't be simplified. Like, we cannot simplify 3 divided by 2. However, we can simplify 12 divided by 2, which is going to give us 6. And then the last step is we don't want to keep this a fraction, and so how you change that is you take the denominator, whatever that is, and you put it in front of the x. So now instead of saying x minus 3 over 2, we're now going to say 2x minus 3. So once again, all we did is we took whatever the denominator was and we put it in front of this x. So now we have 2x minus 3 and x minus 6. And there's our final answer. Once again, anytime you're factoring trinomials, if you ever want to check your answer, all you have to do is just multiply these back together and see if your answer ends up with what you started with, and then you'll know, of course, if your answer is right. Let's look at another example. Let's look at 16m squared plus 60m minus 54. Okay. So there isn't a number, we can't unfortunately just divide all of these numbers by 16 to eliminate, the variable in front of m squared, but we can divide both, or all 16, 60, and 52 by 2. So we're just going to pull out the greatest common factor. We're just going to go through and divide everything in there by the 2. Okay. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. We keep the m squared, plus 60 divided by 2 gives you 30, m minus 54 divided by 2 is 27. Okay, so now that we're here, what we're going to do is just how we work this example. So we're going to keep this 2, of course, on the outside. Remember, we're going to take the 8 and we're going to multiply it by the negative 27. Okay, so this is now going to become m squared in the parentheses plus 30 minus, and then 8 times 27 is going to give us 216. So now we're going to come over here, we're going to write out our factors of 216. This one's going to have quite a bit, so I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to tell you that our factors are going to be 36 and 6. Okay, so we're going to say 2 onto m squared, oops, not m squared, sorry, 2 on 2. We want a positive 30. We have a 36 and a 6. So obviously we're going to have to subtract these two to get a positive 30. So one's going to be m plus 36. The other one's going to be m minus 6. So now, same thing that we did last time. We're going to go through and we have to take this 8 that we just mysteriously got rid of up here and we have to bring it back into the equation by dividing these by the 8. So now we have 2m plus 36 over 8 and m minus 6 over 8, because unfortunately we can't actually divide that. We can simplify them, however. Let's see here. Both 36 and 8 we can divide by 4. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay. And then m minus 6 and 8, we can both divide those by 2. So 6/8 becomes 3/4. And then one last step here, of course, once we get it into this form, we can't have fractions in our final parentheses. So once again, how to get rid of that is we're going to take the denominators on both of them and put it in front of this m right here. So now instead of saying m plus 9 over 2, we're going to say 2m plus 9. And then over here, instead of saying m minus 3/4, we're now going to say 4m minus 3. And this right here is our final answer. And I know I just keep saying this, but I want to make sure you know, anytime you want to check your answer, just multiply this all back out. See if it equals this. If it does, you've got it right. Okay, let's look at one last example. We have 9x squared minus 12x plus 4. So we can't simplify anything. We can't divide 9, 12, and 4 by any number. So we're just instantly going to multiply our 9 times 4. We're going to rewrite it now as x squared minus 12x. 9 times 4, it's going to give us 36. Now we're going to come over here, we're going to write the factors of 36, which are 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 9 and 4, and 6 and 6. Okay, so now out of these, we're looking for what could give us a negative 12. Well, only 6 and 6 can. So we're going to break this down into two sets of parentheses. Okay, since this is a negative 12, we're going to need both of these to be negative. So we'll have x minus 6, x minus 6. And now, of course, we're going to have to bring back in this 9 that we multiplied in earlier. We're going to divide both of these by 9. Okay, we're going to simplify. We know 6 over 9 becomes 2/3, x minus 2/3. Okay, one more time, you cannot keep a fraction once we break it down into those parentheses. How we get rid of that is we're going to take our denominator and put it in front of the x. So now instead of saying x minus 2/3, we're going to say 3x minus 2. Same exact thing over here. Take our denominator, put it in front of the x. Instead of being x minus 2/3, it's now 3x minus 2. So this is our final answer. We can't simplify it anymore. However, we're actually going to write it like 3x minus 2, and then on the outside of the parentheses, we're just going to square it, because if you look, these two right here, they're the exact same, so there's no need in writing it twice. The correct way to do it is just to write it once and then put, of course, a squared. Okay, same thing though, you could still just factor these out or multiply these out and check your work.